Hello, crypto fans. On Tokens with Toast, this series we're going to discuss what happened here. This is Oyster PRL token. There's a massive red dump here, and I think the reason this happened is because supply outweighed demand. The reason why supply outweighed demand is because a bunch of artificial supply was created when the token deployer or somebody hijacked the contract, essentially, reopened this ICO method, and proceeded to basically be able to print tons of tokens from the ICO. Now, obviously, during the ICO itself, which is like way back behind here in the very beginning, people could print tokens, but then they became artificially scarce because there was no more ICO and the price went up and up and up. But, you know, the contract wasn't read enough or understood well enough by many peers, and we're going to look at the contract right now in retrospect and show how it would have been obvious to tell that this was problematic. And what's actually interesting is there are many people on the forums and Reddit and 4chan and whoever who pointed out there are these problems, but most people swept them under the rug and silenced them. Someone I saw got minus 47 karma for pointing out the fact that there was some exploits that could be done here, because people were trying to silence them. I don't know why. It's kind of crazy. Here's the actual contract. Let's go here. 0x1844 B2159, etc., etc. That's the actual Oyster PRL contract. You can check yourself. We're going to go to the code here on Etherscan. And as we can see, it's a pretty short contract, actually. This is where it is initialized, and we can see it gives a name and a supply and decimals. There's some sort of marketing share, dev fund share allocation is being given away here. So all that really matters is that the total supply gets sent to the director. So of course the deployer basically starts with all of them. The total supply is just kind of edited here. Really, this is all probably one line. Total supply just increased, 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 and then give it all to the director. So everything starts in the hands of the director. And then we define some constants. Now, what's very important here is to notice that there's a modifier called only director and only director force. And this is what caused the whole debacle. This modifier, when put on the end of a function or method in Solidity, means or makes it so that only the director can call the function, and only if the director lock is set to false. So later on, it's expected that the director lock or the self lock method will be called. We'll go to that in a second. And then anything with only director can never be called by anybody. Great. That would be great if that actually happened. Only director force means that the director can always call this method. Doesn't matter if it's locked or unlocked or what have you. This is seen rarely, but basically this gives the director ultimate control over this method forever and always. This is like a conditional. Basically it says if there's no director lock, then allow the director to call this method. This allows the director to be transferred and allows the director to withdraw any funds actually sent into the contract, which is rare. You know, accidentally sent into the contract or what have you. And then here's the method that was never called. And the foundation or whatever of Oyster PRL said something about they didn't want to call a self lock, which is set direct lock true. They didn't want to call this because there was some sort of peg. They couldn't change some peg or something. I'm not really sure what that means. But they should have called this method, and people should have called them out on not calling this method. Because they did not call the method, director lock was still set to false, always. You can see right now it's set to false. And that meant that anything with this modifier, only director, could be called by the director. And this whole thing about locking themselves out to do complete decentralization, blah, 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 never happened. So guess what? There was never complete decentralization. It was centralized. So what happened here? Basically, there's closed sale and open sale. This is interesting. These are only director. So if you did the whole self-lock thing, it'd be great. They can never be called again. However, the self-lock never happened. So director lock was still false. So only director could still be called. So these could both still be called. So open sale could still be called. When this happens, that means that cell closed equals false. That's what they did. When cell closed is equal to false, what does that do? What does that do? I think that allows people to... So, oh, here's the crowd sale function. This is what it allows you to do. If the sale's not closed, people can send Ether right into the contract. You basically just send Ether directly to the contract. So that means they basically re-enable this crowd sale method function on line 275, which everybody can go see and read. And what that does is it just gives you some brand new... Oh, it increases the supply of the Pearl out there, which is exactly, you know, why we got this. In more supply than demand. And then it gives the new stuff to that person. The other real problem is that the Ether gets sent to the contract, and then as we saw, the owner can withdraw the Ether. So you're really, if you're buying, you know, if you're buying the quote unquote second ICO right now, you're just giving the director, you know, whoever the director is, maybe a hacker or whoever, Ether basically for free, essentially. That's what you're doing. And then there's some other methods here, like the standard ERC20 methods: transfer, transfer from, approve, approve and call. There's a burn, which is kind of useless. People can just send tokens to the 0 address, which is fine. Burn from. And that's it in a nutshell. So that's what happened. That is what happened. That is why Oyster has completely failed, and why you should try to read and understand smart contracts. And if you want me to do more of these on tokens that maybe you have, let me know. I will review other tokens just like this, and we'll walk through the methods, and we'll kind of analyze what could go wrong or what looks good in these ERC20 token contracts.